Straight ahead on 12 News.
The flames were about the top of the trees.
Fire rips through a century-old farm in Dayton. Then, in demand when tragedy strikes.
But we can be that other person offering a listening ear.
Plus, a popular comedian ready to make Maple Grove roll with laughter.
I do all the F words: 50, fat, food, family.
12 News starts right now. We start with the House floor debate affecting Minnesota's minimum wage.
The Minnesota House has passed a bill that would increase the minimum wage for the first time in 8 years. 12 News reporter Delane Cleveland joins us now with more on that. Delane?
Mike and Alex, the bill would give raises to more than 400,000 Minnesota workers. It would raise the minimum wage to $9.50 an hour by 2015. But the plan had plenty of opponents who feared that it would be crippling to businesses.
And the problem is we're trying to correct little instances for little industries when the reality is this is a colossal unfunded mandate on the small businesses in Minnesota. What the DFL majority refuses to understand is that money does not grow on trees. This money doesn't come out of anywhere. Someone has to pay the bill.
The debate on the House floor lasted 3 hours and passed by a total of 6 votes. The current minimum wage in Minnesota is $6.15 an hour for large employers. Opponents have argued that it would be costly, result in job losses, and force some businesses to close. But the bill's chief author, Representative Ryan Winkler of Golden Valley, called that a tired argument that's mentioned every time a minimum wage comes up for discussion.
The last minimum wage increase in Minnesota was a result of federal action signed by George Bush. The previous action in Minnesota was signed into law by Governor Pawlenty, and the one before that was by Arnie Carlson. If this is such an anti-business bill, I don't know why those Republican governors would have signed it.
One of the other major provisions of the bill is that it includes adjustments for inflation. That way, businesses will have a better idea of when they have to raise wages. The next step for the minimum wage bill will be to reach a compromise with the Senate, which has recommended a much smaller wage increase. Mike and Alex?
All right, thank you very much. Well, cleanup begins today after a big fire ripped through a century-old farm in Dayton.
Thick black smoke filled the air Thursday as more than 15 fire departments responded to the Dahlheimer farm on Diamond Lake Road shortly after 3 p.m. Reporter Shannon Slatton shows us how crews put the fire out.
I could see the smoke as I was coming this way, and this is unheard of.
It's rush hour.
Just black smoke rolling out of there.
On a dirt road in Dayton.
Pretty exciting out here right now.
More than 100 firefighters.
There's trucks coming in and out still constantly.
As soon as we got en route, we noticed a heavy column of black smoke.
Rushed to get water the rural way.
It's very hard to get to. We had to call for multiple tankers. We have no hydrants around here.
The nearest hydrant is a 5-minute drive.
The biggest thing is the water. We have to get the water out here.
But firefighters face a challenge in the property itself.
A lot of outbuildings, and then there's a lot of stuff inside of them, tires and old cars, and this is somebody's personal property that they've been collecting over a long time.
A century-old farm and its collection of trucks, airplanes, and just stuff.
You name it, it was in one of the sheds.
Yeah, it's too bad, you know.
Adrian Dahlheimer could only watch nearby.
I know what buildings have gone just by looking at it here.
As the fire spread through buildings only he could identify.
There was an old streetcar used for a granary, then there was a steel granary, and then there was a machine shed, and then my RV burned. There was an old pulp house there that went to it, an old milk house. So it took a lot of old buildings. They were all attached kind of.
Dahlheimer says earlier in the day he put out a fire that started in the sheep barn.
Took off, went to town, come back, and that's what we got.
A fire and a few questions.
What are you doing? It's just, I don't know.
In Dayton, Shannon Slatton, 12 News.
Dahlheimer had 38 sheep that got out of the barn safely. Fire crews were back at the farm on Friday morning for about a half an hour to put down the fire once again. The official cause of the fire is still under investigation.
After fire destroyed a home in Brooklyn Park more than a year ago, city officials say what's left behind is a nuisance and a potential safety hazard. Since the fire on January 30th, 2012, the burned out structure was torn down. The problem is the home's foundation is still there, leaving a big hole in the ground. There's also a garage that's in disrepair. City officials say neighbors have complained about the conditions, and the city calls it an attractive nuisance. If the owner doesn't take action, the city may get a court order to demolish the property. But when a crime, fire, or other traumatic event happens, first responders have a job to do at the scene.
In that kind of crisis, it's helpful to have a chaplain or clergy there, too, to help with the family or victims experiencing grief. And now 3 local cities are joining forces to offer that service. Police taped squad cars and distraught neighbors and family were on the scene in Robbinsdale last September. It was the site of a murder-suicide that left a 27-year-old mother dead. Her young son made the discovery.
For the victims and the witnesses of these critical incidents, the impact for them is immediate.
Robbinsdale Police Captain Jim Franzen had to call North Memorial to get a chaplain on the scene last fall.
And I know for already the chaplains, it's been kind of an eye-opener.
Now Robbinsdale, Crystal, and New Hope will have their own chaplains.
It's a win for everybody.
The 3 cities are joining forces and partnering with local churches to form a chaplain program.
We're real excited about it. The chaplains have already been utilized on a variety of critical incidents and death scenes.
We can be that other person, offering a listening ear, offering some care and solace.
Robbinsdale pastor Pam Stahlheim-Lane is one of 5 chaplains in the program. Pastor Pam has already responded to her first incident. Coincidentally, it was a 92-year-old parishioner who was locked in her home and needed help.
It was a nice opportunity for me to be able to just reach out and say, it's okay. Aren't these officers wonderful? And so I could build them up, and that just brought her anxiety level way down.
Crime scenes like last fall bring another level of trauma. Now first responders in Robbinsdale, Crystal, and New Hope can call on their own chaplain for support at the scene and beyond.
There's still a psychological, emotional impact for the officers because the officers are people too who care about people.
Since beginning the program April 1st, chaplains have already been called to 3 incidents.
Drivers who take Highway 100 will run into a roadblock this weekend in Brooklyn Center. Highway 100 will be closed in both directions at Bass Lake Road for a bridge repair project. MnDOT is rerouting traffic using the Bass Lake Road exit ramps to bypass the closure. Highway 100 is scheduled to reopen by 5 a.m. Monday.
Plans for an annual bike event in Golden Valley fell flat this year. Despite months of planning, the Golden Valley Crystal New Hope Bike Rodeo was called off this year because of the weather. The number of volunteers involved made it too difficult to reschedule after the event was canceled on Wednesday. Hundreds usually turn out for the annual event, which offers bike safety training and helmet fittings. They will try it once again next year, hoping for a better spring next year.
It's got to be.
It's got to be. Coming up, a popular comedian is set to take the stage in Maple Grove.
Up next, our interview with Louie Anderson. Then later in sports, the top high school senior female athletes in the area are honored in Minneapolis.
But first, it's a look at your AccuWeather forecast.
Lately, he's been making a splash on a TV reality diving show, but this weekend, Louie Anderson will be back in his comfort zone.
He'll be doing stand-up with Maple Grove comedian Scott Hansen at the Maple Tavern Saturday night. Renee Bonneau spoke with him via Skype about the show and our never-ending snow.
While he's performed in venues from Vegas to New York, Louie Anderson said there's no place quite like home.
I can't believe I'm going to have to bring a winter coat with me. I'm so bummed out.
Weather aside, the St. Paul native said it's refreshing to trade the giant theaters for a small, familiar venue once in a while.
Great area and great format to do stand-up, you know, when you can reach out and take a fry off someone's plate.
This is his 34th year of stand-up, and Anderson said in that time he's become a better comedian with a better handle on timing. And the best part is he can share his laughs with everyone.
I do all the F words, 50, fat, food, family. I do all the F words, and my show's clean too, so, you know, I know Minnesotans really appreciate that.
I had to fly in the tiniest plane, so tiny they had to weigh us. Yeah, funny for you.
While Anderson's nearly 400-pound frame has given him fuel for many of his jokes, he knows his being overweight is no laughing matter. That's why he's launching a campaign to get people moving called Get Off the Couch, inspired by his experience on the ABC show Splash.
It's changed my life. I'm up, I'm active, I'm walking better, I've lost weight. This country is in a weight epidemic, an obesity epidemic, and I'm just, trying to be their leader.
Despite this project, he'll still manage to poke fun at himself and maybe take a jab or two at the spring in Minnesota that isn't.
I hope I bring the sunshine.
For Weekend Showcase, I'm Renee Bonneau.
Louie Anderson will be at Maple Tavern Saturday night. A 6:30 show is already sold out, but tickets are still available for that 9 o'clock show. You can buy tickets at the restaurant or on brownpapertickets.com. And if you think you have an idea for the next side-splitting sitcom, you could be in for a big break. Anyone living or going to school in Minnesota can submit an original television script to the Upper Midwest Sitcom Writing Competition. Finalists will have a video recording of their scripts being read by professional actors. The panel of judges includes Louie Anderson, Scott Hansen, and more than a dozen other writers and producers in the business. For more information or to register, you can go to sitcomcontest.com. Coming up, pigs, pizza, and plenty of hungry people.
But first in sports, Armstrong and Champlin Park battle in a low-scoring baseball contest in the Metrodome. John Jacobson with that and more in a moment. It was a proud day for a lot of female athletes.
A great day, a nice accomplishment, a nice way to kind of cap off the high school career for the seniors. For many of the young women at the Athena Awards, it is their final accomplishment as a high school athlete. The Athena started the year after Title IX legislation passed in 1972 and continued today for the 41st straight year. 52 Minneapolis area high school senior girls added Athena Award winner to their resume today. Each school selects one girl because of their excellence in either individual or team sports. We talked to a handful of local Athena winners about the recognition.
It's like a great opportunity that I've had. I feel blessed, and it's wonderful being here because you see how many athletes that you're around. Just, there's a lot of great athletes at Osseo, but for them to pick me is just like a wonderful feeling. And like I said earlier, it's just blessed to be here.
Yeah, there were a lot of lucky candidates at Park Center, and I'm just really honored to be chosen and to represent our school.
I've had a couple of friends who have won it, so I knew a little bit kind of what it's about athletics, academics, kind of serving the community. But I've learned a lot more this year reading into it.
Yeah, it's actually been a lot of fun to know a bunch of girls who are actually in my same position and going on to play sports in college, and to know that they've done pretty much all the same stuff as me.
And here now is a look at all of the local Athena winners. The Armstrong and Champlin Park baseball teams found a warm, dry place to play ball. The Falcons and Rebels played a tight ball game under the Teflon roof of the Metrodome Thursday night. Bottom of the first inning, and the Rebels' Matt Smith hits a fly ball to right. Nick Malmgren settles under it, makes the catch. He makes a good throw home, but Bryce Marquardt watches great slide here, avoiding the tag at home, and it's 1-0 Champlin Park. Strong pitching performances on both sides in this one. Rebels' Brandon Rushmeyer fanned 7 batters in the first 3 innings alone. Jack Wibben of Armstrong nearly matches Rushmeyer pitch for pitch, getting the strikeout here and keeping the Falcons close. Still 1-0 in the 5th inning when Armstrong's Juan Ponce hits a fly ball to deep right. Dan Severs makes the catch, but it's hit well enough to easily score Danny Carlson from third base, and it's 1-1. Bottom of the 5th, after Trevor Kaminsky had tripled to lead off the inning, Calvin Spencer doubles down the line and left to score Kaminsky. Champlin Park's back in front 2-1. And pitcher Rushmeyer goes the distance, throwing a one-hitter. Sam Francis makes the grab in center field for the game's final out. Champlin Park is now 4-1. They win this game 2-1. Park Center's baseball team is also off to a good start this season. Pirates at home to take on the Blaine Bengals. Top of the first, Blaine with a runner at second, but Carson Celine gets the strikeout for Park Center, ending the frame. Runs are hard to come by, but Park Center does get on the board in the bottom of the third. Austin Ledine's grounder thrown away at first. Brendan Budnick hustles home on the play for a 1-0 Pirates lead. That's how it stays until the top of the sixth. Davis Bryan of Blaine with a fly ball to the left field corner that drops in for a hit. Tyler Reichenborn scores, and we're tied at 1-1. In the top of the seventh, Blaine's Sam Kriegler rips a base hit to score Kyle Hamby. The Bengals go on to edge the Pirates 2-1. In softball, Wayzata and Hopkins have become pretty big rivals in recent seasons. The two Lake Conference teams got their game in Thursday after postponing it one day. The Royals take little time getting on the board. Lauren Fiegler cracks one deep to center, well beyond the snow fence for a 2-run homer. It's 2-0 Hopkins after half an inning. Bottom of the first, and the Trojans respond. Reagan Williams rips a single to right through a drawn-in infield. Anna Gimmestead and Casey Palis both score, and the game is tied at 2. In the fourth, the Royals threaten with the bases loaded, but Trojans pitcher Kristen Edblom freezes. Josie Reese with the changeup, and it remains a 2-2 game. The Royals do regain the lead in the fifth. Laura Clemens bouncing a single to center to bring in Natalie Den Hartog, and Hopkins is up 3-2. Home half of the sixth, Reagan Palish singles to right center. Two runners, including a diving Williams score to make it 4-3 Wayzata. The Royals have another comeback in them. Within the seventh, Aaron O'Neill with a fly ball to right and is misplayed for an error. Hannah Kleiss scores the tying run for Hopkins. But the Trojans' Steph Kirk caps this back-and-forth game with this walk-off 2-run homer in the bottom of the seventh. Wayzata beats Hopkins 6-4. Teams are scheduled to play again on May 13th, when it won't be snowing.
All right, thanks a lot, John. We'll be right back.
Well, finally, now you can say, "Pig ate my pizza."
The phrase applies to a brand new pizza place expected to open next week in Robbinsdale. The popular Travail restaurant scene here is currently undergoing a little makeover. They're trying to make room for Pig Ate My Pizza, and that's going to be run by Travail chefs who are sure to put a different spin on pizza. As for all the foodies out there, you'll have to wait till fall when Travail will open in its new and improved location down the street. And as for the name, Pig Ate My Pizza, it's going to be a pork-driven restaurant. So
It's all right. I like that name.
It is cute, and there's a big pink pig out on the awning that you can see right
and
now.
it
They're
sticks in
ready.
your head, too.
That does it for us. Thanks for joining us.
Stay with us. Community Corner coming up next. Have a good week.